Morning. This is Matt with Barbecue and Bourbon. So I wasn't able to put a video out yesterday. I just had a lot going on. It's roughly 7 a.m. Here in Alabama. And I told you I was going to bring Stagg and talk about it. And whether it's going to be chaos or perfection. So bear with me. It's really early in the morning. My ADHD's running rampant. So I am going to be relying off notes that I've taken. So this one right here specifically is a store pick from ABC that I picked up in, I think, March of this year. So it's 133.6 proof. This is a big, bold, hot bourbon. It's 133.6 proof. The notes on this is going to be like a dark cherry, caramel, molasses, heavy oak. Going to get a good amount of heat with it. So we're just going to jump right in and find out if this is going to be chaos or perfection. We'll start off with pork shoulder. So just bear with me. I kind of got a little bit of a script laid out. So this is probably actually one of the best pairings that you can do with bourbon. You're going to have the rendered fat and natural sweetness from the pork. And you also going to have the bark from the pork. My favorite part of the pork is the bark. I love a good, crisp bark. The fat's going to be the key to making this work. The fat, when it gets on your palate, is actually going to cut down on a lot of heat. And that's really going to allow this bourbon to open up where you're really going to get all them flavors. You're really going to get the dark cherries, the caramel, the molasses. And it's going to cut down on the heat significantly. You're still going to get heat, but it ain't going to be like just taking a sip of this and not having anything else to drink. I will not be sipping this at 7 o'clock in the morning, just so y'all know. So this is just going to be going over what I've put together this past week, or past couple weeks, I'm sorry. All right, so the bark is going to, because with me, I like a peppery bark. I do like some sweetness in it, some of the brown sugars and stuff like that. It's not overpowering. It's not like, okay, you get all the heat from the pepper and then you get the heat from this. Like I said, the fat really cuts down on the heat. But the bark is pepper and spice, whatever spices you use. Like I said, I don't like too sweet on pork butts, not like I do ribs. I love a sweet rib. But on pork butts, I like it more peppery. Not as peppery as brisket. And I've got brisket on the list. We're going to cover that as well. But this is combined with pork butt. They kind of really come together. They blend very well. So you get the best of both worlds. You get a real high quality bourbon. I have to say this is probably one of my favorites. It's kind of hard to get your hands on here in Alabama without paying secondary prices. I don't pay secondary price. I will stand in line and take my chances at getting it for retail. Retail with tax, this is about $75. This bottle specifically on secondaries, about $170 to $180. But I would, if I was one to pay secondary prices, I would pay upwards of probably $200 for this. I wouldn't go over $200. But this is a casual sipper for me. This ain't something that I'm gonna come home every day and pour me some. So it is, for me, it is a casual sipper. I've had it since the beginning of March. You see, I've not drank hardly any of it. I do have another bottle. I went ahead and got 2 bottles. All right. But with pork, you get the fat. The fat's going to knock out the heat. It's really going to blend well with a good high quality pork rub, whether you make it yourself or over the counter, as long as it's not a tremendously sweet rub. And then again, on the same note, you don't want just straight pepper. So you got to have a balanced rub, because this is a big, bold bourbon. So, but with the rub that I use, which I make myself, and I will be sharing that recipe. If I ain't mistaken, I think mine's kind of similar to, I think it's Heath Riles. I think mine's similar to Heath Riles, but I have done some things different than what he did. I've got a little bit more of certain things and stuff like that, but the premises is kind of similar to Heath Riles. At least from my memory, I believe it's Heath Riles. All right, so this with pork butt, perfection. You can't beat it. And I know I done the 1792 the other day. We was talking anything that you could get off store shelves. You could walk in and just about anywhere and grab it, and that's the 1792 small batch. This is more of a unicorn. It's a little harder to get your hands on, but this is better than the 1792 when it comes to pork butts. Alright, now let's move on to brisket. So it's going to be more of a powerful pairing, because you're going to have more of the Texas style salt, pepper, heavy smoke. You're going to have plenty of the fat. And like I said, fat's key. Fat's key is knocking the heat off so it doesn't overpower. And you're going to have kind of similar profiles. Hold on, I'm having to sort through this. You can have them out of order. The oak and char that you're going to get off of this, and yes, you're going to get a little bit of char off this when you pair it with brisket, because the more, the different type of rub. Sorry, like I said, just woke up, smoker's cough. This is going to really help mirror the bark that's on the brisket. The spice lines up very well with the black pepper. It's not overpowering, but you are going to get a little more of the heat. Unless you get a real fatty piece of brisket. You get a real fatty piece of brisket, it's going to knock the heat right out. This ain't going to burn your palate when pairing it with pork butt or brisket, because the fat takes that away. This is going to make those flavors stretch. And it's going to make that finish last longer. So you're going to be getting the deep smokes. You're going to get the flavor of the meat. You're going to get the nuances and flavors that come off of this. And the flavors actually change a little bit with this, where to the point where I get more of a, I guess more of a molasses, which I get that on the other, but it's the cherry, the dark cherry is more pronounced with the pork butt along with the caramel than the dark molasses. Well, the brisket brings up more of the molasses and the oakiness, and it may just be brisket, but I get a little, it seems like I get a little smoke off of this at that point in time. It's bold. It's really, really bold, but with a good Texas style brisket, it works. All right. So I would say it's perfection. I would say it's perfection with a brisket with a Texas style rub. All right. So I'm going to move on to ribs. And this is where things are going to kind of change a little bit. You got to be careful. If you're running a really sweet glaze, a brown sugar, a sticky sauce, if you're putting this bourbon on top of all of that already leans sweet, and then you throw something in as high proof as this at 133.6, it's going to get out of control fast. Is not necessarily in a bad way, but it's heavy and it's not going to balance. You're going to get flavors. I mean, if your palate's developed where you can pick out the nuances in food, and you can also pick out the nuances in bourbon, then you're going to get flavors. But it's going to be all over the place. It's not going to be overwhelming. Now, ribs do not have as much fat, so this is going to be a little bit spicier when it comes to ribs than it is with the brisket and the pork butt. Now, if you want to move into the other direction with ribs, and you want more of a savory, pepper forward, then that is where this pairing is going to really come more together with it. Again, less fat on ribs, so you're going to get more of the heat. This bourbon is going to feel that sweetness that you get from more of the savory and peppery ribs, instead of like trying to double it. And this is a sweet bourbon. This ain't overly sweet, but it does have some sweetness to it. Also, the heat from this purely comes from just the high proof. I mean, this ain't it's got rye in it, but this ain't a rye bourbon. So this really comes together if you want to go with more of a savory and pepper forward rub for ribs. All right, so let's move on to something else. And I don't think I delved into this with the 1792, so we may end up having to do another video. Like I said, I put some work into this. So we're going to delve into chicken. This is where it struggles. It's a lighter meat, less fat. It struggles. It really, really, really struggles. With something this strong, it takes over. So this is going to overwhelm the chicken, and you're going to lose the smoke. You're going to lose the seasoning. Things are going to get hidden because of how bold this bottle is. I wouldn't recommend Stagg for chicken. It's chaos. It's definitely chaos. Because like I said, this just overwhelms everything. So you don't get the flavors from the chicken. You might get a little bit, but nothing's really going to stand out. Everything's going to be subpar to this. This is going to stand out over everything else. So I would recommend it with more of a brisket or pork butt. All right, so we're going to step into things that I would definitely avoid. Fish. Do not pair this with fish. You're not going to taste the fish. The fish does not have the fat to cover the heat, which means the spice from this, due to the heat, is going to overwhelm. You're not going to get any of the seasonings from the fish. You're not even going to get the flavor of the fish. It's too delicate, too delicate of a meat to be pairing something this bold with it. Also, vinegar heavy barbecue. The acid from the vinegar heavy barbecues is going to make this very, very harsh. And you want to stay away. I don't care the amount of fat. You go with the vinegar heavy. You're adding acid into the high proof alcohol, and it's going to be very harsh. Stepping forward a little bit, anything overly sweet. Like I said, I tend to like a sweeter rib. This would not be something I turn to for a sweet rib. I would stick with an Eagle Rare or a 1792 or Weller Special Reserve, even Weller's 107. Let's see, Barstown High Wheat 106. That's just names. Even Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace is not a bad bourbon. To me, it's overhyped. We might need to do a video on Buffalo Trace. It's a good bourbon, but it's overhyped. I don't really care for it. It don't live up to the hype for me. That's not saying it's a bad bourbon. It's not a bad bourbon. But back to this. Anything overly sweet, stay away from. Vinegar heavy barbecue, stay away from it. For the love of God, do not put this with fish, lobster, shrimp. Well, shrimp maybe. I actually want to test that out. I might need to do some shrimp and test that out. But I know like fish and lobster and crab and stuff like that, you want to stay away from it. But shrimp might be a little different. I'm gonna have to test that theory. That's one thing I've not done. So we'll definitely get around to doing that. 'Cause I want to try it. If I had a pen out here, I'd actually make a note to do that. All right, so we're gonna talk about how to approach. If you're planning a meal around this bourbon, keep it simple. Go with something that's very, very fatty. Pork shoulder, brisket, beef ribs, not just pork ribs like most people tend to lean to, but you're talking beef ribs, the dino ribs, the short ribs, just the beefiness, the fat in the beef is going to really work with this. The fat that you do not get from pork ribs. Lean more towards savory with your rubs, your sauces, your glazes. Stay away from the sweeter stuff with this because it's not near as good of a matchup. And you can try this yourself. Do a rack of ribs that's more savory and peppery, and then do a rack of ribs that's more sweet, and do it side by side. Compare it yourself. I have, and I'm telling you, it's good with the sweet ribs, but it's not a good matchup. That doesn't mean this is a bad bourbon. It just means it does not pair well with the sweetness that you get off a sweet rib. This is something for a little more savory. Let's see. And when you pour this, it does have a high alcohol content. So let it sit for a minute. Let the bourbon open up. Let the air get to it. Let it breathe. For the love of God, let it breathe. You don't just pour it and then down it. We don't do that. Pour this. Let it sit 5 minutes or so. Let it breathe. Get some air to it. This is a bourbon that you bring later on in the meal. You don't start this right at the beginning of your meal. You start this halfway through. So you start getting, you start eating, you start getting them flavors on your palate and everything. Give that fat time to build up a little bit on your palate. Then about halfway through the meal, you bring this in to kind of help cleanse your palate and throw some different flavors and take the meal to the next level. All right, so we're finishing to end this. And what I gotta say is, at the end of the day, this is a powerhouse. It's 133.6 proof. It's a powerful bourbon. I've got one bourbon that's higher proof than this, and it's Old Forester Single Barrel. And it's actually a store pick from Walmart, believe it or not. But I was shocked. It's really good. But I believe it's 134.6, 134.8. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is a powerhouse. When you pair it with the right barbecue, fatty, smoky, savory, it doesn't just go alongside of it. It complements it. It becomes an experience, not just I mean, it actually enhances everything. But if the food ain't bold, then this is gonna overpower it every time. Again, fish and chicken, but chicken not to the extent of fish. Definitely stay away from this with fish. If you want to sample it with chicken, go for it. You do it with fish, you will regret it. So, in closing, if you had this bottle or a similar bottle, what are you going to pair it with? So that's the question. Think about that. You got a bold bourbon, powerful bourbon, high proof, that you get a lot of dark cherries, molasses, caramels, oak. Depending on the meat, you could actually get a little hint of smokiness on this, but then that's debatable whether it's coming from the meat or the bourbon. I've never got the smokiness off of this drinking it neat, with not alongside any meals. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. What are you going to pair it with? What do you think of the video? Do I need to do more comparisons like this on the chaos or perfection? What do y'all want to see me smoke next? Drop it in the comments. Like, subscribe. I'm just getting started with this. It's early in the morning. So I appreciate y'all bearing with me. And I'm fixing to go work on getting this uploaded. But y'all have a blessed day. And enjoy your bourbons. Enjoy your food.